Good evening, everybody. Today we're in Maya 2016, and we'll be looking at making some basic shapes. Now, if you've been using Maya for a while, this is not the video for you. This is for anybody who's trying to get used to the interface. So that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. So this is my general layout, and all I want to do right now is drop in a basic plane. So I'm going to come to my Polygons tab, make sure we're in modeling here. So in 2016, of course, I had modeling, rigging, animation, FX, rendering. Make sure we're in modeling. And in our shelf here, make sure that we are in polygons, because we're going to be working with polygons today. So up here, I'm going to grab a plane. Looks like it's a little window. Look at that. Little square thing. I'm going to drop that into my scene. And if you're worried about like the canvas size, your default canvas size in Maya is pretty small. Mine has been adjusted for game design because I work with larger units. So don't worry if it's different, but if it bugs you, you are welcome to change it up here under display. You can go to grid and then the little options box right here, the little square. This will allow you to adjust your grid. Now this is what my grid is set up to. I have 512, 512, 32. These are my units here. And I did make my axis red so I could see the grid axis pretty easy. And you can adjust those however you like and then hit apply. Alright, so once I have that set up, I'm going to go and select my object here. And I'm just going to press the F key to frame up. So select him and then press F. And that brings me up on my object. To my right, I have my channel box. And you can see I have my polyplane, which is what this object is. And down here I have my inputs, polyplane 1. If you don't see this, just make sure that your object is selected and it is highlighted green. If it's not highlighted green, you're probably in component mode. Component mode is just a way to edit any of these vertices or anything that's on here. It looks like this. So if yours looks like this, or maybe that, or like this, we're in the wrong mode. Make sure you're in object mode. You can just go ahead and right click on the object. You have to hold the right click and just make sure you're in object mode. Once it's selected, and we're here in our inputs, we have our polyplane. Go ahead and open that up. And I'm just going to adjust my width and my height to 20 by 20. I'm just going to select both here. Just click and drag, select both. And just type in 20. It's going to give me a much larger area. And I'm going to come down where it says subdivisions, width and height, and I will adjust those to 1 and 1. This will make it easier for me to see what I'm going to be working on. Okay. Once you do that, we're going to come up to rendering, this little tab here on our shelf. And I'm going to drop in one of these shaders. Any one is up to you, but I prefer this middle one here. This is a Lambert. You can see it has no reflection, and that's going to be easier to see. I'll go ahead and grab that. And the materials attributes is not always open, so make sure you have your object selected. And then to the right here, we have our attributes window. That's this little guy. If you don't see these tabs open, you can, of course, hit one of these 4 icons here. This one in the corner adjusts our channel box. This one here, this one adjusts our attributes. If you look at the top of our object, you can see Lambert 2. Okay. Now I'm going to come in here and name this Lambert. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and call him Image Plane. Okay. Inside of our material here, we have our color, transparency, so I can, of course, drag the slider and make it see-through if I wanted to. And color, I could drop in a color if I needed one. But I'm actually going to add an image file. So right here, next to color, there's a checker box. That checker box will allow us to import a file, so go ahead and click on that. When you do that, you'll end up opening up this wonderful window. If this doesn't pop up or you get an error down here, just make sure that your object is selected. If your object is not selected when you do this, you'll get a little error down here. Okay. I'm going to choose File from the menu. And then over into our material attributes here, you can see where it says image name. I'm going to go ahead and go to a little box here, or a folder. And I'm going to navigate to my downloads. So, and of course here in my downloads folder I have my shapes file. This file is included in the video description if you want to have this and follow along with us. We're just going to be making these basic little guys here. Okay, so I grab that and hit open. Now you won't see it pop up right away. Instead, what you have to do is press 6 on the keyboard, and that'll bring up our shapes. And there they are. Okay. Now, I find it's easier to work in a top view, so I'm going to go ahead and press the space bar. I'm just going to press it. If pressing the space bar does not bring you into this 4 view, you can access the 4 view. Over here to the left, you'll see you have perspective, 4 view, and some various other views. I'll just go ahead and click on the 4 view. Now I'm going to choose the one that says top, and the one here that's highlighted top, that's where I'm going. Just hover your mouse over and press space. Okay. I'm going to go over to my right, and I'm going to look for my channel box. If you don't see your channel box tab here, you can access it by clicking on this far. It looks like these three little pages to the right here. It's this one. In my channel box, I want to reference my image layer. And again, if you don't see your image here, every one of these viewports gives you its own camera. So just hover your mouse over and press 6. Down at the bottom of our channel box to the right, I want to choose layers. Make sure your object is selected. And we're going to choose create layer from selected. This is going to allow us to hide our layer if we want to. It's also going to allow us to set it to reference. What reference does is it means that I can't accidentally click it. So when I'm working, I won't be clicking on it or dragging it or moving it off the canvas. All right. From there, I'm going to go ahead back up to my shelf. That's this little guy up here. And I'm going to look for my Polygons tab. If you don't see your Polygons tab, you can also create polygons with the Create tab here. Polygons and Create. And you can pick whatever primitive from here. I'm going to drop in another plane. So in my list, I'm going to grab the plane again. And here it is. Now we start making these basic shapes. We really don't want to have all of these subdivisions on our plane. Instead, we want to reduce this down to a more workable size here. So over here to our right, make sure that we're under our channel box and then our poly inputs. Now I'm going to change this to subdivision width and height. I'm going to drop that down to 1. I don't need much more than that because this is a pretty simple object. But to change its shape, what I want to do is go into vertex mode. You can access vertex mode by pressing F9, or you can hold down the right click button and you can pick it from the menu here. So you have edge, face, UV, object mode, vertex mode. There's also vertex face. Vertex face is different than vertex, so just make sure that you're on vertex mode. A vertex allows you to modify individual points on an object, where an edge will allow you to modify an edge, and the face lets you grab the whole little square. I'm going to go back to vertex mode, and I'll grab the vertex, and I can access my move tool by pressing W on the keyboard. All that does is it toggles this little icon here, this little cross looking icon. So now I'm going to move my points to where I need them to make my shape. Okay. Now I'm drag selecting, which is called marquee selecting. That makes a little selection box. But you can click directly on the point to grab the point. Okay. Once I grab my last point, I'm going to go ahead and move it. You'll see that I run out of points. So all I got to do is add one. To do that, I'm going to come up to my polygons shelf here. And in this list, right here is this multi-cut tool. If I have my mouse over, it'll pop up. It doesn't want to pop up here, but it is down at the bottom. This is multi-cut. If I click on that, you can see my icon changes to a little razor blade. And if I click anywhere on this little, on like an edge or a vertex or whichever, I can now add a point. So I'm going to go ahead in the middle of this, I'm going to click. And then when I'm done, I can either hit enter or right click. So I'll go ahead and right click. And you can see a new vertex has been added. To get rid of this tool, I'm just going to go ahead and press the W key. That'll bring up my move tool. And I will select my point. And now I will move it. And there's my first shape. Okay. From here, I'm going to make my next shape. So go ahead and add in your new plane. Go ahead and move this where I need it. Let's make an easy shape here. We'll go ahead and do this guy right here. If you're not familiar with the controls in Maya, holding Alt and then the middle mouse button allows you to pan your camera in an orthographic view. Zoom in. And once again, I'm going to change the number of subdivisions. So over here in my channel box, make sure that we're in our channel box. If it's this wide box, this is attributes. Make sure you're in the channel box. It's this one. And it'll say channel box right here. In my poly inputs, I will change my width and my height to 1 and 1. And once again, I will go from object mode to vertex mode. And now I can modify my vertices. Grab my vertex and move it. Remember that W brings up the move tool. Go ahead and move these into place. And there's my second shape. Moving right along, I make my third shape. Drop in a new plane, move it into position. Come to my poly inputs, and I'm going to adjust 1 and 1. Now you'll see that this triangle here only has 3 points, but I can't reduce it to less than 4. That's fine. All I have to do is delete a point. So I'll go ahead and line this up where I want. Go to vertex mode. Move the points where I want them. And then this last point, all I have to do is select it and press the delete key. And now we have our triangle. That's our third shape. Let's go ahead and move on to our fourth shape here. Of these two, the easiest is probably going to be the Z. So I'm going to make the Z. Grab my plane. I'll move it into position. My Z has a few extra points here, but I really don't want to start with more than 4 because I have some extra subdivisions. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those, put that back to 1 and 1. Go to vertex mode. Now start moving my points for this Z. Now you can do this a few different ways. You can make this part of the shape, or you can try making the whole thing, but you'll find that you don't have enough points to get everything into place. So once you get to here, we're going to start cutting. I'm going to grab my multi-cut tool, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points that I need to cut. So go ahead and add my first point, so 1. And then I'll go ahead and move that into place. My next point, I'll go ahead and move this down to here. You can see I need a point from here to there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my tool, and I will cut a new point. Go ahead and move that into place. Okay, and now I have 2 more points to make. So I'll grab my tool again, and I'll add 1 point, and then 2 points. I'll grab the first one, I'll move it into place. And I'll grab this last one and move it into place. And there is my Z. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Our last shape is not too much different than this, except we're just making it pointy. So I'm going to grab my plane, move it into position. In my inputs, I will adjust it back down to 1 and 1. And I'll start making this particular shape. I'm going to frame up on it. And let's go ahead to vertex mode. For to get there, you can just hold down the right click button, or you can press F9. Go ahead and select my first point. Start arranging these as I go. And I don't really know where I want to go with this one. I'll go down to here for now. Why not? So I need a point here, 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 and one over here. So we'll start at this part. So 1. Go ahead and pull that into place. 2. Grab this one, 3. 4. And my final point. And there we go. And there are our 5 shapes made very quickly. I'm going to go into object mode, and there we go. So we have all of our shapes right here. Okay. So that's a quick look on how to make very simple shapes in Maya. In the next video, I'll show you how to do more advanced shapes using proper edge flow and topology. Okay, and I will see you guys in the next video.